What's going on, guys? Clint here. Welcome back to the channel, Code Commerce, and in this video we're going to be creating this React.js application styled with Tailwind CSS. Has a nice travel theme. So just a quick rundown. We have a top bar, we have a nav bar, we have this image background with a bit of an overlay on it. I know you might be a little bit hard to tell right now. Some text down there. We have some cards here, and again, everything is fully responsive, you guys. A little select form there. We have a gallery here, image gallery, and a contact form at the bottom. And again, everything is completely mobile responsive here. You can see we start changing up the screen as we get to certain breakpoints. So if you want to see how I built all of this from scratch. Oh, and by the way, we do have some smooth scrolling in effect. And again, this is all Tailwind CSS, you guys. And just to show you the nice little side drawer menu in here as well, with a smooth scrolling effect. So if you want to see how I built this from start to finish in React.js, then let's go ahead and get started. So here I am in a blank code editor. I'm already in the working directory, just this weekaway-react folder. So I'm going to go ahead and press the control backtick button. It's just going to open up my terminal down here. And let's go ahead and create our React application. So I'm going to type npx create -react-app. Now you can name a folder here, or if you just want to install it in the current directory that you're in, you can just put a period there and press enter, and that's going to create a basic React application inside the folder that you're currently in. Happy hacking, that means we are ready to get started. All right, you guys, so first what I want to do, let's go into our source folder here on the left, and I'm just going to clean up a few things here and get rid of a few files that we're not going to be needing for this build. So the app.css, the app.test, the logo.svg, report web vitals, and the setup test. Let's just go ahead and delete all of these. Like I said, we're not going to need them for this build. Just kind of declutter a little bit. Now, next, let's go ahead and install Tailwind CSS. So just go to tailwindcss.com. This is the landing page here. I'm going to click on the Get Started button there, and we can actually click on Framework Guides. Got Next.js, Laravel, Vite, Gatsby. Let's find React. Should be down here at the bottom. Create React app. There we go. Go ahead and click on that there. And so what it wants to do first is create our basic React application, which we did that. So next, we need to install Tailwind. So I'm just going to copy that right there, paste it over. Next, while that's installing, we're going to need this npx tailwind css init-p. Let's go ahead and run that command. And what that's going to do is create a few things here on the left, notably this tailwind.config.js. And we're going to need this because the next step is actually to just copy this inside of the content array. So I'm going to hold on to that. Let's go over here and just paste it in there. There we go. And you guys, this final step to install Tailwind, inside of the index.css, it wants us to paste this Tailwind base, components, and utilities. And these are some directives, one in which we're going to be using that base. So let's go ahead, and you guys, you can get rid of all this. We're going to end up writing all of our own CSS here with Tailwind. So let's go ahead and, yeah, that should be it there. So let's go ahead and start our server with npm start. It's going to start up our development server. And right now, you guys, we should just see a blank page. We might have a few errors here. Just looking for things that we deleted. So inside of here, yep, there are the errors. So let's go ahead inside of our app.js. Let's go ahead and get rid of a lot of this boilerplate code that we're not going to need. It's trying to import some things that we don't have, and we can just import React. Whoops. We'll just import React from React. There we go. And let's see. Still need the report web vitals. That's going to be in this index.js. So let's just go ahead and get rid of that there. And we don't need to import it either. Okay, so that should clear up all of the errors. Perfect. Now, if you jumped ahead and you start writing some Tailwind and you're not seeing any effects, make sure you restart the server. Just a little quick heads up. So let's close this, and let's go ahead and add what I want to add. We're going to have some global styles, and we're going to do that here inside of our index.css. So first, what I want to do is actually import the font that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using a Google font here. You can use whatever font you like, but this is the Poppins font. And by the way, I just toggled that sidebar with Command B. I know a few folks have asked me in the past, so Command B does the little sidebar toggling. So next, I'm going to add two two CSS variables here, some root variables, and we're going to do that right here. What we're going to say is :root, and these are just going to be, these are just going to be colors, you guys. And so let's go ahead and give them two dashes there. We're going to say primary dash dark, and this first color, they're both going to be blues, kind of bluish purple. So 5651E5. There we go. And then next, let's do another one here, dash dash. This is going to be primary light, and this one here is going to be 709DFF. Okay, so these are the two nice little colors that we're going to be using here. So next, what I want to add are the global styles here, and we're going to do this right down here. And you guys, Tailwind has some really great documentation. If you want to read through it, they have really great documentation, and probably just about all of your questions you can find in there. So what I'm going to say for the global variables, I'm going to say layer at layer base. Okay, now in here, we're going to add a smooth scroll. So I'm going to target just the HTML element. And what I'm going to say is at apply scroll smooth. And this scroll smooth here, if we hover over it, this is a really cool plugin. I believe it's called Tailwind IntelliSense. I'm not for certain, but really, really great if you're using Tailwind. It gives you all these pop-ups and really kind of helps you know what you're doing a little bit quicker. So next, let's try the body here, and let's go ahead and give this the font that we're going to be using, font. And we're going to say Poppins. And we'll use the brackets like that. Actually lets us write in some custom, kind of like custom values in CSS. And I'm going to touch on that here again in just a moment when we get into writing some more styling. So next, the list item, we're going to say P-4, and that's going to give a padding of, I believe it's 1 rem. There we go, 1 rem. Already coming in handy here. And I'm going to say text SM for text small. Now next, for our button, this is going to be applied to all buttons. I'm going to say apply PX4, so 1 rem padding on the x-axis, then PY2, and kind of goes by multiples of 4. So 4 is 1 rem, 2 would be 0.5 rem, which is 8 pixels, and so on and so forth. So next, we're going to give it a border, and then we're going to have this little gradient, as you can see here, kind of a gradient from a darker blue to the lighter blue. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. So we're going to say BG gradient to R, and now we're gonna use one of our variables. We're gonna say from, and you could say like from red 600, whatever you want to say, but since we're using our custom variables, again, in CSS, or sorry, with Tailwind, we can use our brackets. I'm gonna say var, just like so, and then open up our parentheses, and we'll say primary dash dark. So from this color, then we'll say to, open up our brackets there, var primary light, and then we'll say text white. And let's go ahead and give one more here. Our H2, we'll say apply text XL and font bold. That's what you're going to see here. If you were to type in an H1 before any of this, you would see Tailwind by default. It's kind of lumps everything into no styles at all. So even an H1, a P tag, an H6, they're all going to be the exact same size, the exact same font weight, which allows just for a lot of customization here within Tailwind. Okay, so that is all of our index.css, you guys. So let's go ahead and we can close that, and let's go ahead and go into, let's create our first component. Yay. So inside the source folder, let's first create another folder. I'm going to call this components, and this is where all of our components are going to live here. So again, with this one in the components folder, I'm going to create a TopBar.js or .jsx, doesn't matter here. So RAFCE, going to generate our functional component. And you guys, real quick, I forgot we're going to be using these React icons. Yay, super, super awesome icons. I love using React icons, really easy package to use. Let's go ahead and stop our server real quick just to install this. So I'm just going to paste that in there, just like so, super, super quick. And let's go ahead and start writing. npm start. Let's start our server back up. Yes, there we go. So let's go ahead and import a few of the icons that we're going to be using. So what I'm going to use, we're going to say, and this is how easy it is to use the React icons. So import from React icons, just like that. Now let's import our icons in here. So what I want is AI fill phone and AI outline clock circle. Now see the little, this is the font name right here, but they all come with these little pretexts. So whoops, So this little pretext we actually have to add after the React icons, just like so. Now, next we want to import. I'm going to use BS chat square dots. This is going to be from React-icons. And then again, we need to add in that little BS, just like so. Perfect, you guys. So next, that's all we need to do. We now have access to our icons. So let's go ahead and write some of this stuff here. So sorry, it's a little bit harder for me to see whenever I'm zoomed in. So let me know in the comments if you like it zoomed in or how it is at this current state here. So let's create another div here. Within this div, here's going to be our first icon. And then what we're doing right here is just going to be like this top here. So this BS square dots, that's our little logo that we're going to be using there. So we'll say BS square dots, just like so. There we go. And after that, we need an H1, and this is going to be our title. And let's go ahead and import this, you guys. So we'll say this is our top bar. There we go. Let's import top bar from components / top bar. There we go. Okay, so we should see, there we have it. We can zoom in a little bit. There we have it, yay. Okay, so after this H1, after this div here, what we're gonna do next, this little section here is a div here, and then we have our button as well. So if we open it up, and these are actually gonna disappear on smaller screens there. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So after this second div, we're gonna create another div. And inside here, we're gonna have another div. This is gonna be our AI outline clock circle. There we go. Let's have a P tag there. And this is gonna be our timings. We're gonna say 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. There we go. And below that div, I have another one here. This one's going to say AI fill phone. This is going to be our phone number here and a P tag. We'll say 1-888-817-1234. Fake phone number, by the way. Please don't call it. Okay, and then let's do a div here, a button. We'll just say get a free quote. Okay, so let's go ahead and save, gets nice and formatted. That is all the HTML that we're gonna write for our top bar. Now we just need to style it. This is the fun part, using Tailwind CSS. I love Tailwind. It is so easy to write CSS and to style things. So let's give this a class name. We want it to display as flex. We're gonna say justify between, so it's kind of spread out on the opposite sides of the screen. There we go. We want items, center. Now px4, so padding of 1 rem on the x-axis, then py2, which is a padding of 8 pixels on the top and bottom. There we go, perfect. So next, for this little section right here, let's go ahead and say class name, and we'll say flex. We want items center. Now for our dots, let's give this, what we can actually do is give it a size attribute here, and let's say 30. Kind of beefed up our icon there. Let's give it a class name, and you can style these just with Tailwind or any other CSS as well. So I'm going to say text, and let's give this a color. So text color, and again, you say text red, or we're going to use our custom variable here. So say -- primary dark, just like so. You can see you get that little purplish blue color. Margin right of 2, which is just 8 pixels there. So perfect, everything's looking good. Let's style our H1 here, so class name. Now for our H1, I'm gonna say text XL. You see 1.25 rem, font bold. I want the text to be a gray of 700. There we go. Everything is looking great so far. So next, let's style this div. We're just gonna give this a class name of flex, because we want these to be displayed horizontally. They're perfect. Now for our clock here, let's go ahead and I'm going to hold down the option button so I can type at 2 places on the same time. And I want to give these, let's give this a class name. So I actually want to have these hidden on smaller devices. And then once we hit the breakpoint, which this is past the breakpoint, they're going to be displayed. But Tailwind is a mobile first approach, meaning we need to add in those styles first. So what we can say is hidden, then anything above the medium, this is how we do breakpoints in Tailwind. We'll say medium, Anything above medium, we want it to display as flex. And I want these to display it as items center, then PX 6. And I believe the medium breakpoint is 640 pixels. I may be wrong, but I believe they're 640. So as we shrink that down, see we're right at the breakpoint there. So we're shrinking down, we don't see them. And then once we hit the medium breakpoint, boom, there we are. And you can add in some custom, you can change the sizes of these breakpoints if you'd like as well. But for the sake of this video, this is going to be just fine. So next, let's go into this AI outline circle here, that little clock. And I'm going to give this, again, a size attribute of 20. We'll say class name. And let's go ahead and do this as well. So size 20, class name. And what we're going to do, again, I'm going to hold down the option button so I can type in here. And let's give this a margin right of 2. And we'll say text. And then we use our variables here. Pop open our brackets, variable. Dark. There we go. Perfect. That's what we want right there. And next for our P tag, let's go ahead and style these. So let's give it a class. We'll have the caps lock on there. Class name. And what we're going to need here is, let's see, text small, and then text gray 700. 800, 700. The lighter the number, or the lower the number will be, the lighter the color. And I think it goes up to 800, maybe 900. I think maybe 900. I may be mistaken there, but so 700 is going to be perfect there. And then our button is already styled. That was because we did that in our index.css right here. And that's why we already have this beautiful button right there. So let's go ahead and open this up. Perfect, spans across the screen. Everything is looking exactly how it should. Yay, all right. So as we get down below, our breakpoint, the time and the clock disappear. So, okay, so next, let's go ahead and create, and that's it, you guys. We just finished our TopBar. Smash the like button if you feel like you're getting some value out of this. If you're loving Tailwind, super, super awesome. Next, let's go ahead and create our next component. And our next component is going to be the navbar. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll say navbar.jsx, perfect. RAFCE is going to generate our functional components. And so let's go ahead and, again, we're going to use a couple icons in here. So let's import, we're going to use FA bars from, we'll say React-icons. Then again, this one's going to be FA, perfect. And let's going to import, this one's going to be BS chat square dots from React icons /BS. BS, there we go. And next, I'm just going to copy all of these here to save a little bit of time. So import, and you see all these all start with FA, so we can actually import them on the same, in the same line here. So from React-icons FA. I'll go ahead and save that so it gets nice and formatted. Awesome. So let's go ahead and write out a few of, okay, so let's go ahead and import. First, we're going to need to import a useState hook, and we're also going to use the useEffect hook, okay? But we'll come back to those. We want to go ahead and import those, but we'll come back to them. So first, let's go ahead and style the top part of our navbar. So what we're going to say, we come in here, and again, I like to be able to see what I'm doing. So let's just import this real quick. There we go. And we'll import navbar from, there we go. Okay. So now that we have our navbar, let's go ahead and start off writing some CSS. Okay, so what we're going to say, I see our navbar in there, perfect. So we have our div here. Now we want to create an unordered list. Now inside our unordered list, we're going to have a list item. Then we're going to have an A tag, and this one's going to be, we can just put a slash there. We'll say home, and let's go ahead and I'm going to select these, and I'm going to hold down the shift option button to just copy those down. So we need a gallery, a deals, and a contact. So this one's going to be gallery. This one can be deals, and this one can be contact. Okay, so, and let's go ahead and give these some IDs. and we're going to use these in the following components so we know where to scroll to with our smooth scrolling. So make sure you add in these here. There we go, contact, perfect. So just below this unordered list here, let's go ahead and add in, I'm gonna shrink this down so I like to see what we're doing here. Boom. So we're gonna add in these icons there. Very, very nice. So let's go ahead and add in our social icons. I'm gonna open this up a bit. So for, like I said, just below our owner list, we're going to create another div, and inside here, we're going to have our social icons. We'll say FA, Facebook, F. There we go. Perfect, perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and just copy in these other ones just to save a tad bit of time. So these already have the class name in here. So let's make sure you add class name. We're going to say MX-4. And what this class is, if you haven't known by now, margin on the x-axis of 4, which is 1 rem. All right, so now that we have that div in here, you see everything looking good. And we're gonna come back and I like to write all the HTML and then get it all styled here. So I think it's easier to follow along this way. So next, let's go ahead and do our mobile menu. So, and you guys, we're gonna have to, okay, we already have all these imported, okay, bars. And again, I just kind of caught this, you guys. We can actually delete this line. We just need to import FA bars down here, like so, and then we can actually just get rid of that there. So I just caught that. But again, remember, these have to, if they start with different letters there, then they have to be imported on separate lines. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our mobile. We're going to start with our mobile menu here. So let's just go ahead and give a little quick note here. We'll say, this is going to be our hamburger icon here. So I'm going to create a div, and inside here is where we're going to have our FA bars. There we go. There's our bars right there. And we're also going to have just below that mobile menu. And this is going to be our side drawer menu that we're creating right now. So let's go ahead and do that. So for our side drawer menu, let's have a div here. Okay. And this is going to have, so let's go ahead and we'll come back and write some CSS in that in a minute. But inside of our nav here, we're going to have an unordered list. Then we're going to have a list item. And let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just copy all of these to make it easy and save a little bit of time. Boom. So go ahead and paste those in there like so. Perfect. And okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and write some CSS using Tailwind, and that's going to hide our side drawer off the screen. So I think, yeah, that looks good for now. We might have to, no. Yeah, we'll come back and style everything in a minute. So perfect. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the top with some styling. And then we'll add our state, because we're gonna use the useState hook to manage whether or not our side drawer menu is on the screen or not. So let's go ahead and style our menu here. So let's give it a class name. And what we want is width full. Again, this is for our navbar here. So we want a minimum height of, and we're going to use our brackets here, but you could say min height, 8 or 6 or whatever you want to do. Again, I want to use a custom value so I can just use the brackets again there. Very, very nice. So flex, justify, I'm going to say justify between item center. And you see this popping up. I believe that's the Tailwind IntelliSense again. So it kind of allows you to write. That's what I love about Tailwind so much. They have all these plugins as well, and just allows you to write and style things so quickly. So 700, there we go, 80. Let's go ahead and give that a save. There's our navbar, awesome. All right, so now for our unordered list, give it a class name. And we actually want this to be hidden, but anything above small, because we're gonna use the small breakpoint here, which I believe is 640 pixels. Anything above that, we want it to display flex. So this small breakpoint is what we're gonna use for our mobile menu. So boom, there you go. As you can see, kind of disappears. And this is our mobile menu that we're going to style in a minute. So I hope that makes sense. There you go. All right, so Next, so that is our unordered list. For our list item, we actually don't need any styling on those because we already added those in on our global styling right there. So that's kind of like to save a little bit of time. So next, let's go ahead and style our social icons here. So for this div, we want these to lay horizontally. So let's say flex, and let's justify between so they lay down. And again, I guess you can't really see those. I'll open it up just a bit while we're doing this here. So that is for our unordered list. Now for our icons, they're already styled how we need them to be styled. So next, let's do our hamburger. Let's do our hamburger icon. So for this div, we're going to come back and add an on click here. So, but for now, we want anything above small. We want this to be hidden because we only want our hamburger icon to be shown on smaller screens, right? Okay. So anything above small, it's going to be hidden. And again, this is that Tailwind mobile first approach. And then we'll give it a Z index of 10 because we're going to add an overlay. We want it to be on top of the overlay. So next for our bars, let's go ahead and give our bars, which is going to be, is just our little hamburger button there, a size of 20. And then for a class name for the bars, let's say margin right 4, and then cursor pointer. So every time we hover over it, we get the little pointer finger. There we go. Okay, so next, let's do our actual mobile menu. This is going to be this div, this mobile menu right here. And again, we're actually going to hide it off the screen. So whenever we click it, it just gets slid in from the side with our nice overlay there. Perfect, perfect. So what do we want? And we're actually going to use a ternary operator here. Let's go ahead and give it a class name. And since we're using a ternary operator here, instead of using some quotes, we're actually going to use some brackets, and we're going to write our JavaScript inside the brackets. So what we're going to say, and we actually haven't added our state in here. So let's go ahead and style our navbar or our mobile menu as it's going to be appearing on the screen like so. So let's do that right now. What we're going to say, overflow Y. And for right now, you guys, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do here. We'll say overflow Y hidden. Anything above medium, we're gonna use that medium breakpoint. We want it to be hidden. Ease in, we're gonna have a nice transition. The duration is gonna be, I'm gonna use 300. We want it to be positioned absolute, and text gray 300 because it is gonna have that kind of gray overlay. So left 0, top 0, a height of screen, and the height h-screen is 100 viewport heights there. So same as saying that as well. And then we'll say background of black, and to give it a little bit of opacity, we'll say 90, px4, py7, flex column, just like so. Okay, so next, I want this to be full screen. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so that is all of that's how we want our navbar to show. We're going to come back and style these here in a moment, so don't worry about that yet. But this is basically what we want our navbar to look like whenever it is engaged. So let's go ahead and add some state up here. So we already imported here at the top. So let's just go up here and we'll say just right below this navbar here, we'll say const and then open up our brackets, and you can call this whatever you like. I'm gonna say nav and set nav. This is gonna equal to use state. It's just gonna be a Boolean value, so false. And we're gonna be able to toggle back and forth between false and true and false. So just the Boolean value there. And we also need a function to toggle this. So we're gonna say const handle nav. We're just gonna use an arrow function there. And we'll say set nav, and we just want to set the nav to its opposite of its current value there. So that's all we need to do there. Now let's scroll back down to our styles here. So right now our menu is being shown, okay? And let's go ahead and let's go ahead and finish styling it, and then we'll set up the logic to whether or not it's going to be toggled. So now that we have that in there like so, next let's do our unordered list here. So I'm going to give this a class name, the unordered list of h full. So it's going to say height full, height 100%, width 100%, text center, then padding on the top of 12. There you go. Perfect. Now for our list item, we're going to need to add styles to all of these, and they're all going to be the same. So just go ahead and hold down the option button if you're on a Mac. So I'll give this a class name there. Just save some time here. So what we're going to say, text 2XL, kind of beef them up a little bit, padding on the y-axis of 8, which is 2 rem. Okay, perfect. And then next, we don't need to add any styling to our anchor tags, and they already have our they're already attached to the ID that we're going to set here at a later date. So now we just need a way to toggle whether or not our navbar is showing. So we have, this is our current styles. So what we're going to use is actually a ternary operator. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and what we're going to say, if the nav is true, then show this, else show a different set of styles. So let's go ahead and write that. And the nav is just our state up here that we created. So now we have access to this. And again, make sure you're importing the useState hook here at the top. So what we're going to say, if nav is true, just a ternary operator, if nav is true, show these styles. Else, we're going to show these set of styles here. And this set is going to be absolute. We want it to be top 0, H screen, but we're going to hide it off the page. So I'm going to say left negative 100%. I'm putting that inside the curly brackets. Ease in, then duration of 500. So go ahead and give that a save. And what that did was just hide it somewhere over here, way off the page. So it doesn't work yet. We need to find our button. So let's go find our button. The FA bar is there. Okay. So what we need to have is basically a click event. So whenever we click this, it toggles and changes our state. So what we want to add is we're just going to add an on-click event here. So we can add that to the div or to the bars. What we're going to say is on-click. And guys, make sure if you're used to writing JavaScript, everything's camel case here. So if you did it all in lowercase, it's not going to work properly. So, and what we want to do is just run this handle nav function, just like so. So next, let's go ahead and see if that works. Also, I'm going to add that to our div right here. There we go. So go ahead and give that a save, and let's see if it works. Hey, there you go. So there is our top bar. Here is our mobile navigation. Let's have a look. Okay, there you go. Perfect, perfect. That is what is looking like, you guys. And whenever you click, it just closes automatically. So smash the like button, you guys, if you feel like you're getting some value out of this. As you can see, it closes whenever we pass that breakpoint. I know I forgot that in some of the past videos. So there you have it, you guys. Now let's move on to our hero background. All right, you guys. So moving on, I'm going to go ahead and press the Command B button to toggle my sidebar, and let's create our next component, which is going to be this hero background here at the top with an image that I just pulled over from Unsplash, and it's going to contain this text as well. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's create a new component in here, and I'm going to call this hero.js.jsx. So RAF-CE is going to get our functional component, and I'm going to go ahead and close that index.css. And real quick, before I forget, let's go ahead and import this hero, just like so, and we'll import hero from components/hero. Okay, perfect. So that looks good, and everything is looking beautifully here. Boom, there we go. Oh, this is our one right here. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So here we are. You can actually already see the hero text showing through, but that's right, we're going to take care of that. So inside of our hero component here, let's go ahead and add, firstly, we're going to add an image. And for this source set here, I'm going to go ahead and paste in, I'm going to go ahead and paste in the link that we're going to be using. I'm not going to be importing any images. I'm just going to paste this in there, and feel free, I'm going to add something in here, a slash, so React doesn't give us any errors. So feel free to use whatever image you like. There it is over here on the right, and we're going to style it so it actually takes up the whole bit of the screen there. So that's what we're going to do for that image. So just below the image, there we go. Just below the image there, let's go ahead and create another div. Then inside this div, we're going to have yet another one. Then we're going to have an H1, and the H1 is going to say, find your special trip, just like so. Then we're going to have an H2 that says, with week away, yay. And then just below that, we're going to have a p tag, and I'm going to use some lorem text, maybe like lorem 30, I think. We can come back and change that. It might be a little bit too much. Let's just leave it there for now. Okay, so that is all of the JSX code that we're going to be using. So let's go ahead and style this so it takes up the full, almost the full with this full height of the screen. Just leaves a little bit of room down there. And let's go ahead and do that. So inside of here, let's target this top div first. I'm going to go ahead and give it a class name. So the class name, I'm going to say width full, so width 100%. Then for the height, I'm going to use the brackets here so I can use custom values. And I'm going to say 90 viewport height. So that's going to take up nearly the entire amount of the screen, but we need to add in some CSS for some Tailwind CSS for our image here as well. So we'll go ahead and do that right here. We'll say class name on the image, and let's say width full. So width full, height full, which is 100%. And let's say object cover, so the aspect ratio doesn't get all skewed. So there we go. Image is doing just what we want. Perfect. So next, let's go ahead and this is going to be our container right here. This div here is going to be, I guess, what you would call a container. So let's go ahead and say max width. You can set width or you can say max width. So for max width, I'm going to say, again, using the curly bracket or the brackets there, a max width of 1140 pixels and margin auto. There we go. Perfect. Now in this div here, we want this to be, this here is going to be positioned absolute. We're going to say top, using our brackets again. Top is going to be 40%. There we go. Now we also want this to be width full. We're going to add in some media queries. So anything above medium, we're going to say 50% with a max width of 600 pixels, height of full, flex column, so it's saying flex direction column, and I want the text to be white. Let's give it a little bit of padding. Hey, perfect, there you go. All right, and we're gonna add an overlay to this image. Maybe not, we don't have to. If you want to, you can, so we might actually not need to. So next, let's target this H1. So you see this H1, find your special trip. That's that text right here. And notice it, like we talked about in the beginning of the video, Tailwind applies these like baseline styling. So H1 at its core has no styling whatsoever. So let's go ahead and give it some styling. And what I'm gonna say is font bold, okay? And say text 4XL. I do love that about Tailwind. It just gives you so much customization, so much freedom there. Now with the H2, I'm going to give that a class name as well. We'll say text 4XL PY of 4, and I'm going to say italic. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And I think that's going to be good for our p tag. I don't need to style that at all. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so next, let's move on. I think that's going to be it. Let's go ahead and open this up just to make sure. Yeah, perfect. There you go. Smash the like button, you guys. Hope you're liking this. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So next, let's go on and do these little gallery images. I guess I'm going to call them like activities here. So resorts, cruises, and excursions. This is going to be one component right there. It's kind of going to overlap on our hero image there. Okay, so let's go ahead and press the Control B there. So inside our components folder, we're going to create the activities .jsx. Okay, so for our activities, we're going to have essentially through those three different ones. So RFCE is going to generate our functional component. Now inside here, we're going to have a div with an h3. This one's going to say resorts. Okay, and it's going to have an image. And for this image, I'm just going to copy these. I'm going to copy these over. So this is the source for the image. I'm just going to put a little slash there so it doesn't give us any errors. And we're going to have little overlays over here so we can add the text on top of our image. So there we go. So right below our image, here. So this actually needs, I'm going to shift this up a line. This actually needs to be within our div here. So just below this, let's say, we'll give this another div, and this one's going to be, we're going to position this relative. We'll come back and do that. I'm going to give this, and see here. Actually, I think that's all we need. So let's just go ahead and copy that. Let's just go ahead and copy this down. I'm just going to replace those. Just like so. Perfect. Now, I think that's probably all we need to do here. Oh, let's go ahead and import these. So what we're looking for is activities. There we go. All right, so we should, there we have it. We have our pictures in there. So what I'm going to do next is actually add in, I'm going to give its own unique pictures. So I'm going to copy in these here. And I got these pictures from Unsplash. I really like grabbing all my pictures from Unsplash, or a lot of them at least. I find that they have a majority of most of the pictures I like just end up coming from Unsplash there. All right. Now for our final picture here. There we go. Toggle this down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a quick save. Gets nice and formatted. There we have all of our code in there. So let's go ahead and style it so it looks very nice like this. And again, is mobile responsive. This is what we're working on right here. And again, it's just going to overlap our hero just a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our top div here. And what we're going to say for this top div, we're going to say a max class name. We're going to say a max width. And again, here we are using our brackets for our custom values of 1140 pixels. We'll say margin auto, width full, anything above medium, we're going to say display flex, then MT margin top. We'll say negative 75 pixels. Whoops. And what that's going to do is just kind of pull it up into our hero. Hey, there you go. Perfect. So for our next div is just the container here. And we're actually going to, all of these are going to be the same. So let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to hold down the option button. There we go. So what we're going to have here is a class name of relative. And then also we want, let's see, P4. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Perfect. All right. So next, what we want to do, let's go ahead and let's see here. Next, let's go ahead and style the H tags, and we'll do all of those the same as well to see what I'm doing. So we want these to sit right in the middle of these images. And the reason we gave the images or the parent container or the parent div here a class name of relative is so we can position these, so we can position the text within there. So let's give these all a class name, and we want to position them absolute Z of 10, so they're on top. So I want to say top, use our brackets here, so 50. Oh man, I keep doing that. I go back and forth between my MacBook Pro and also, there it is again. I go back and forth between my MacBook Pro and also a desktop keyboard, so it's always messing with me there on the keyboards. So 50%, we'll say left 50%. And then we want to translate on the x-axis of negative 50%. Translate y-axis of negative 50%. There we go. And text, white text to XL, so it beefs it up just a little bit. We'll say font bold. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Looking good. I like that. So now let's style all of our images, and we're going to give them kind of like a little bit of a border. As you see here, it has this border and has like a faint shadow around it, just a little box shadow that we're going to apply with Tailwind as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. Again, I'm just going to select all of our images here to speed this up a little bit. A big time saver, big time saver. So let's say class name. Now in here for our images, they're all going to be the same. So say width full. We want height full, object cover, relative, and then what we're going to say is border of 4, which is just one rem, and then we'll say border white, shadow -LG, and that's how easy it is to add the shadow. And you can add 2XL, 3XL, or you can say small or medium, but for the sake of this, we're just gonna say shadow large. So that is all we need to do, guys, for our activities. So next, what I want to do is, let's see how this looks just to make sure it is responsive. There you have it, you guys. Boom. And you can change the breakpoints if you want. I think medium's good here. If you want to move it to small or even to large, feel free to do that as well. So look at that, you guys. Smash that like button if you feel like you're getting some value out of this. I had a lot of fun putting this together. So next, what we want to do here, let's go ahead and we're going to do the booking, which is this part right here, this little like form here. It's going to be responsive as well. Boom, there you go. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do that form next. So inside of our components here, I'm going to call this booking.jsx. There we go. RFCE is going to get our functional component. We're not going to be importing anything. So let's go ahead and real quick for the activities, I'm not sure if we need to add, no, that's fine. So let's go back to the booking here. So on the booking, before I forget, what I want to do is add in an ID, because remember when we did the Navbar, when we did our Navbar, our kind of scroll to here, this is what we're scrolling to. We're scrolling to the ID. So we need to make sure we put those in there. So for the ID, booking, we could say booking, or let's see what we say in here. I think I said maybe deals, gallery, deals. So I can say deals. I'll just put that in there. I guess I could have said booking, but whatever. We'll say deals there. Perfect. Now, next we're going to have a form, okay? And we're not actually going to submit it anywhere. So there's no back end to this. So we can just leave it as is. So div here, then let's have a label. And again, we don't need this HTML4. We're not going to be using anything for the sake of this video. So destination, and make sure we app.js. Okay, and just make sure we have it in there. Probably can't see it. It's going to be hiding underneath all of these here. So what I want to do, activities. Okay. Make sure I have that right. Perfect. So, all right. So, sorry, I was jumping around there. Okay, so now that we have we have our booking here. That's what we wanted. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was thrown off here. So let's add in our, we're going to add in the booking. It's here. So let's go ahead and say booking, import booking from components booking. There we go. Go ahead and give that a quick save. And there we have it down here. You can see our destination, our little label down there. Okay, so for our booking, we already have the label. Now, just below the label, we're going to have a select in there. Okay. And we don't need an ID in the name. I'll just leave it as is for now, but we are going to add some options in here. So we'll say option, and I actually don't need the value in there as well. Like I said, we're not going to have a back end to this thing. So Antigua, and let's copy this down a few times just to have a few options. Say Key West. I love the beaches. And then we'll say the Maldives. Then next we'll do Cozumel. Okay. So after this select here, after that div, we're going to create another div. So we're going to say div, and inside here, we're going to have yet another div, and this is going to have a, get this broken down so it's easier to read. There we go. Okay, now inside this div, we're going to have a label. It's going to say, get rid of this. This one's going to be check-in. Okay, so check-in, and then we need an input here. And input, we can leave the type of, this is actually going to be a date. So input of date, and then let's do another div here. We'll just copy this down, save a little bit of time. And this is going to be check out. Okay. And then next we're going to need a search. Okay. So we'll drop down 2 divs for that one. We'll create another div here, and we'll have a label. Again, get rid of that. And this one's going to be search. And we're going to have a button here, and we'll say rates and availabilities. Oh, availabilities. All right. Sorry. All right. I still didn't spell it right. Jeez. There we go. All right. Sorry. Now, okay, let's go ahead and save that. Sorry, you guys. It's all right. You can hate on me in the comments there. So we have our component down here. Very nice. Very nice. Everything's working. I have our little select down there as well with our options in here. So next, let's go ahead and style this thing. Okay. So at the very top, we already have the ID of deals. And that's kind of targeting our little component here for our smooth scrolling in our navbar. So let's go ahead and give this a class name, and we'll say max width 1140 pixels. Kind of maintain everything. Width full P-4. Now for our form, and again, it's not going to submit anywhere. So anything, we'll say anything above the large breakpoint, which is, I believe, 1024 pixels. I'm not certain. I'll have to double check. And we'll say anything above large when justify the, there we go again. Justify between, we'll say width full, then items center, just like so. Okay. So next for this div here, we'll give this a class name, and we'll say we want this to be flex column, then padding on the y-axis of 2, and then, or sorry, margin of the y-axis 2, and then also padding 2 as well. So hey, there you go. Everything's looking good so far. That's what we want. We just need to keep styling. So for our label is not going to need any styling, but so for this select here, we will, and we can actually just get rid of that. For our select, let's give this, see, large, anything above large, we'll say width of 300 pixels. Anything above medium, we're just going to say width full, which is 100%. Border, rounded MD, that's one we haven't used yet. Basically just gives a little border radius, makes the edges just a little bit rounded. You can do that for the buttons as well if you'd like. Then a padding of 2. Now, none of our options need any styling. So next, let's drop down to this div right here. We're going to give this a class name. And this one's going to be displayed flex with a width of full. And then these 2 boxes are actually going to have the same, these 2 divs surrounding the inputs. Let's go ahead and just, again, I'm going to hold down the option button save a little bit of time. And what these need to be is flex. We're going to say flex column width full. Anything above the large breakpoint is going to be max width 250 pixels. There we go. MY2 MP2. There we go. Perfect. Now for our input, that's looking pretty good so far. There, yeah, looking pretty good. So next, let's go ahead and style, again, not the labels, but our inputs. We're going to need to style the inputs as well. So again, holding down the option button, let's give it a class name for our inputs. Let's say border rounded MD, and you can do rounded SM for small, medium, or large. It kind of changes the amount of the shadow there. So there you go. Perfect. Looking good, you guys. Now next, let's go ahead and tackle this little search div right here. So I'm going to give this a class name as well. We'll say flex. We're going to display flex column, margin Y of 2, padding Y of 2, and then width full. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect. And then for our button, that's all we need. Might see class name width full for larger devices there. Let's go ahead and look at that. Hey, there we go. Perfect. Everything is displaying just beautifully on smaller devices and larger devices as well. Everything, look at that. Awesome. Perfect. And so this is our date picker there. Awesome. Awesome. There you go. Now you just need to hook up a back into this thing. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on, guys. What I want to move on to next is going to be this gallery here. And again, going to be mobile responsive as we shrink down to smaller devices, changes the direction. So let's go ahead and do that one right now. Kind of go ahead and just close a few of these so we can get those out of the way. So next, inside of our components, another component, and this one's just called gallery.jsx. So let's go ahead and get started with our gallery. RAFCE, it's just going to be generating our functional component here. So again, let's start off by giving this an actual ID so we have something to scroll to within our navbar. Okay, so Command B, going to toggle that sidebar again. Now, for our, let's start with an H2 here. So we're going to start with an H2. This is gallery. So we'll say H2 gallery. Now we're going to need a div here. Then inside that, we're going to have another div. And this div is going to be basically what our image is going to live inside. So we'll say image. I'm just going to give it an alt. There we go. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add, I'm going to go ahead and add in my image that I'm going to be using. Again, it's another Unsplash image. There it is. Perfect. Now let's just, we can just copy this down. I believe we're going to have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're having 5 of them. Yeah, so 4 or 5. So let's go ahead and copy that down. I'm just going to copy that div down right there. So we'll say 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and now style this thing. So all the divs are going to be the same, and we're just going to change all this direction and how much of space that the image is taking up. We're going to do all of that with our styling within Tailwind. So, okay, let's go ahead and import it real quick so we can see what we're doing. So we'll say gallery, import gallery from components, gallery. There we go. Okay. So there we have all of our images. They're all the same images. So let's go ahead and fix that right now. So I'm just going to copy over some of these. And you guys, if you want to use your own images, that's cool too. There we go. Okay, and this third image, pull that down as well. Again, if you want to skip through this is fine as well. I may end up just fast forwarding through this part in the end as well. Okay, so now we have all different images in here. Boom, there we go. So now we have all different images in here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and style these things up. So for our main div here with the ID of gallery, we're going to use the same We're going to use the same max width on all of them, just going to maintain our consistency. So 1140 pixels. Margin auto, we'll say width full, so width 100%, P4, and again, adding that to all sides. But to say PY, we're going to add 16. So I guess we could say just like PX4, PY16, that's going to be all the same there. Okay, so they don't get stacked on top of one another when you add multiple in the same class name there. So next, let's hit our gallery. So class name, we'll say text center. We want it to sit right in the middle. I want it to be this gray color. We'll say text gray 700. And again, not 7,000, 700. And again, if you wanted to use custom values, this would be, you could enter in a hex code here or something like that. But again, we're just going to use the text gray 700 and then P4 to give it a little bit of padding there. Perfect. Now for this div here, we're going to use the grid layout. So class name, we're going to display as grid, something we haven't done yet in this build. So anything above the small breakpoint, we're going to say grid columns 5, and then we're going to say a gap of 4, so gap of 1 rem. So that kind of spreads everything out there. There we go. So as you can see, when we get to larger screens, we now have the 5 columns. So next, we need to add in a few more styles, and this is what we want on smaller devices. We want it to shrink down a little bit, so we just need to change those down there. So gap of 4, perfect. Now for this div here, I'm going to give it a class name. And so anything above the small breakpoint, I want this specific div of this first image to span, we'll say span 3. And then column, I want it to span 2. And row span 2. So there you have it, you guys. Look at that. And that's all you need to do. Everything else just kind of falls into place there. I am going to add some styling to our images, but that is it, you guys. Everything else, like I said, falls into place. So for our images, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and add in some styling right here. So again, holding in our option button here. There we go again. I'm going to say class name. I want to say width full, height full, object cover, just to maintain if these are different style images or different width dimensions images, they're all going to display as they should. So there you have it, you guys. Look at that. Again, smash the like button. Hope you're getting some value out of this. We don't have our, we're already adding in our smooth scrolling. That is awesome, you guys. Awesome. Let's make sure our mobile nav is working as it should. Boom. There you go. All right. Smash that like button, you guys. Hope you're liking this. What we're going to build after this component here, which we're finished now, let's finish up with our form there down at the bottom. So let's go ahead and open up yet another component here, and we're going to call this form.jsx. Go ahead and press enter. Now for our form, or I guess we could have called this, let's call it contact. Contact makes more sense there. So for our contact, not using any state or anything like that. And let's go ahead and just import this down. I'm going to copy it. Boom, contact. Okay. Okay, so for our contact here, whoops. Let's see here. Our contact. Let's go ahead and let's see, we're getting this error here. There we go. Perfect. So for our contact down here, there it is. You can see it. So for our contact, let's go ahead and, like I said, we're not importing anything. So let's go ahead and give this parent div an ID of contact. That way we can use our smooth scrolling. Okay. And within this, we're going to have an H2. And it's going to say, send us a message. Yay. There we go. Now under the H2, we'll have a little P tag. We'll say we're standing by. Yeah, okay, perfect. Now below this, we're going to have a div. and we're going to have an image in here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull over the source for our image here. Boom, paste it in there. Fill that in so React doesn't give any complaints. So now that we have our image in, let's see if we can see it down there. Yeah, perfect. All right. But we're going to go ahead and when we come back, we'll go ahead and finish up the sizing of that image. Okay. So, yeah, after that image, let's go ahead and add our form. So we're going to say form, and it doesn't need an action. It's not actually going to submit anywhere again. So again, a div, if you want to connect it back into this, that would be awesome. Input type of text, perfect. Let's give this a placeholder. I was hoping to be able to see. So placeholder of first. And I'm going to copy this down once more. There we go. And so first, this one's going to be last. Okay. Now this one here is going to be type email. And this one is going to be tel for telephone. There we go. And then we also need, let's do another one here for an address. This one, we don't even need a type. We'll just leave type of text. We'll say address. Okay. And then we need a text area. Perfect. So text area. And we don't need the ID on it. We don't need the name. As we went over, it's not going to be submitting anywhere. The columns 30, rows 10, that's fine. And then let's just add a button below this. There we go. And we'll say submit. So there is all our stuff. You can kind of see the Tailwind applies some base style, so that's why it's kind of looking funky. But let's go ahead and style this thing and then move on to our finish up with our footer. So for our styling, let's start out here at the top with our ID. And this is just kind of the parent div here, so we're gonna give it a class name. And what we'll say, again, just to kind of keep things consistent, we'll say max width. And we could have just added a global variable, or applied this to our could have made a component for our container. Many different ways to do things. This is kind of how I chose to do it. So margin auto width full, and this is typically how I like to do it. Padding Y 16. There we go. Perfect. There we go. So for our H2, let's give this a class name, and what we want: text center, text gray. And again, since we're reusing these H2s, they all seem to be our kind of like headings. I could just add some global styles in our index.css. That way we wouldn't have to just keep redoing it over and over, but that's what I'm doing. Whoops. So next we need to style this here. So class name for the p tag, we're say text center, text gray 700, and we'll say py, depending on the y-axis of 2. So we're going to give that a save. And there it is. Send us a message. We're standing by. Perfect. Okay. So next, let's grab this div that is the parent container to our image. We'll say class name. Want this to display as grid. Anything above medium, we're going to say grid columns 2. Okay. There it is. Perfect. Side by side. This is where our form's going to be over here on the right. Just like our demo. There we go. All right. So shrink that back down. So that's all for our image, for our container. Now let's go ahead and add some class here to our image here. So I'm going to say class name, and we want this to display as width full. Anything above medium, we'll say width full. Object cover, padding 2, and max height of, using our brackets here for our custom values. There we go. All right. So inside of our form, now we have a div here. So, hey, that's looking good already. Let's give this a class name. And again, this is the div inside of our form. So it's going to style all of our inputs here. We're going to say grid columns 2. Okay. So for these first 2, we want those to be on same line. So we're going to say border M2, forgot to add my class name. Class name. So we'll say border margin 2, padding of 2. There we go. Now for our email, perfect. That's looking good there. Let's go ahead and do our email next. So class name. For our email, I'm going to say border margin 2, padding of 2, but we're also going to say, or I think that's going to be good there. And actually might be those on, could just use those for all of them. So let's do the telephone next. Paste that in, border margin 2, padding 2. Now for our text input here, so we'll say, let's go ahead and do that. We'll say border, and then we actually want this one to take up a little, it's going to take up a little bit more. So we'll say column span, let's say 2, padding 2, margin 2. And there you go. So that's our address. Takes place across the entire screen here. And then we have our text area. So let's do that one next. So for our class name on the text area, we're going to give it a border. We're going to say column span 2. There we go. Have that nice Tailwind IntelliSense there working for us. And then we're going to say, again, margin 2, padding 2. Look at that. Awesome. Looking very, very nice. There we go. Have it. Okay, so next, let's style our button super quick. So we already have the baseline styles attached to our button, and this is how I like to do it. I like to add like the ones that I know I'm going to use. Then if I'm going to change any of the sizing, I can just do that within the button element itself on the page. So we'll say column span, but this way I don't have to add in the colors on every single button. So margin on the X2, so background. I think that's all we need. So let's have a look. There you go. Okay, let's now open this up. Make sure it is responsive. Boom. Look at that, you guys. Smash the like button if you feel like you're getting some value out of this. And we're just getting so close to finishing up. Boom, there you go. Everything is working beautifully. There goes the gallery and our form down here at the bottom. So next, let's add our little footer and we'll be done here. So we'll say footer.jsx. And now for our footer, it's going to be super simple, super simple. RFCE, let's get our functional component in here. Let's go ahead and import our footer. There we go. And we'll just add it right here. There we go. And I didn't even look at this. We can actually just leave that as an empty fragment if we wanted to. Looks like I didn't use a few things. Let's go ahead and just clear those up. The Navbar. So it's saying we didn't use, we didn't have to use the use effect. So, and then the BS square dots. Maybe I just didn't need to use them. Hey, there we go. Perfect. Now for our footer, let's go ahead and style that. And it's going to be real super simple. Just this little thing down here. And that is going to be it. So let's go have a look here. All right. So for our footer here, we have a parent div there. We're going to have another div in here. And this is going to be, we're going to use an icon in here, the BS square dots. Sometimes they'll let us auto import, sometimes not. Nope, that's okay. So let's import BS chat square dots from, you probably already know, React icons. Remember the little pretext we're using, BS. There we go. Okay, so we have our icon. I'm going to go ahead and give it our size property as well. So I'm going to give it a size property of 30. There it is, perfect. And we're going to come back and style that here in just a minute. So just below that, let's add an H1, and we'll just give it the little week away brand. Okay, so let's style this thing. So the parent container, again, I'm going to use that there we go. Max width of, use our brackets here, 1140 pixels. I hope you're starting to finish this stuff kind of as I'm typing it. That way you don't have to follow along line for line. Hopefully you're picking up Tailwind easily as it was for me. So yeah, I really, really love Tailwind, you guys. I hope you're liking it as well. So right here, we're going to say flex, items, center, margin auto, and justify by 50. There we go. Justify center. Perfect. There we go. All right. Now for our little icon here, we give it a little styling as well. And we just want it to be text. We're going to use our variable here. So var, then we can open up and we're going to say primary dark or primary light. Either one's up to you. We'll say primary dark. I think that looks a little bit better. Then let's just give a little bit of spacing. We'll say margin right 2 to bump it over there a little bit. Okay. So now for our H1, give this a class name. We'll say text XL. XL font bold. And we'll make it that gray 700 color again. So, hey, there you go. Perfect. All right. So let's check this thing out. Have our top bar. We have our nav bar here that is mobile responsive with smooth scrolling here. Boom, have our hero with our text. We have our nice cards here, our gallery with a little search form, a little booking component there. We have our gallery here, a form, and a footer. That concludes the build today in React.js styled with Tailwind CSS. Smash the like button, you guys. I hope you got some value out of this. I hope you're enjoying Tailwind as much as I am. And stay tuned for some more videos to come, some much more fun React videos I have coming up for you guys. So thanks for watching, you guys. Smash the like button, and I'll see you on the next one.